Over the centuries, the holiday evolved, and by the 18th century, gift-giving and exchanging handmade cards on Valentine's Day had become common in England. Handmade Valentine's cards made of lace, ribbons, and featuring cupids and hearts eventually spread to the American colonies. Everyone loves a winner is a common saying, but surprisingly, people dislike losing more than they like winning, and it actually takes a lot to tempt us to take a risk. Psychologists and economists from Princeton University found that people do not like to bet money in a situation unless they can win twice the amount they could lose. The curriculum enhances the general management program with health-related courses, Dr. Schulmont says. Required courses include healthcare in the 21st century and the economics and strategy of health sector management. Students may also take electives such as medical device commercialization, healthcare marketing, and the economics. In an attempt to lure new students, leading business schools, including Harvard, Stanford, the University of Chicago and Wharton have moved away from the unofficial missions and prerequisites of 4 years work experience and instead have set their sights on recent college graduates and so-called early career professionals. In the last decades of the 18th century, the losers seriously outnumbered the winners. Those who were fortunate enough to occupy the upper levels of society celebrated their good fortune by living a hedonistic life of gambling, parties, and alcohol. almost 200 years after French physicist Jean Peltier discovered that electric current flowing through the junction of two different metals could be used to produce a heating or cooling effect. Researchers say it is time to step up efforts to find new materials for the thermoelectric cooling market. Online speech has become such an influential way of experiencing politics today, not just participating in democratic processes like elections, but also the way we lead our daily democratic life through digital communication, and we need to see how we can bring nuance to understanding them. If you have a chronic disease such as heart disease, diabetes, asthma, or back or joint pain, exercise can have important health benefits. However, it is important to talk to your doctor before starting an exercise routine. He or she might have advice on what exercises are safe and any precautions you might need to take while exercising. Usually, age is determined by physical characteristics, such as teeth or bones. Great, if you have a body. Researchers have tried unsuccessfully to use blood, but in this study, the scientists used immune cells called T cells. T cells recognize invaders through receptors that match molecules on bacteria, viruses, even tumors. At an early stage in the examination of the domicile of dependency rule insofar as it related to married women, it seemed to the Commission that it would be better to examine the whole concept of domicile, particularly in the case of minors, children under the age of majority, and mentally disordered persons, as well as in the case of married women. In multilingual countries, code mixing, the use of more than one variety in the same utterance or sentence, and code switching, the use of different languages or varieties between sentences, is common and natural. Despite its frequency, or perhaps because of it, some scholars and self-appointed guardians of linguistic morality It's projected that, over the next 100 years, temperatures on Earth could rise an average of nearly 5 degrees Celsius. While some animals might be able to migrate north to escape the brunt of the heat, plants can't uproot themselves quite so easily. Clementson wanted to see if claims of question dodging actually held up, historically, not necessarily in the unique case of Trump. So Clementson analyzed the transcripts of 14 presidential debates, from 1996 to 2012. Overall, he found 51 accusations of question dodging, 26 by Dems, 25 by Republicans. Previous research has offered circumstantial evidence that Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, contains more water than all of Earth's oceans. However, temperatures there are so cold that water on the surface is frozen solid. Movies are an integral part of us. They mirror what we believe and how we coexist as people. It is easier to see our concerns, attitudes, flaws and strengths in films than it is to decipher them from our daily interactions. When our prevalent beliefs and ideologies are challenged in films, we are sometimes able to interrogate ourselves and embrace change. Based on experimental evidence, physicists publish revolutionary new theory on brain learning that contradicts the most common assumption in neuroscience, will transform our understanding of brain function, and open new horizons for advanced deep learning algorithms. The prejudice against too good employees is pervasive. Companies tend to prefer an applicant who is a perfect fit over someone who brings more intelligence, education, or experience than needed. On the surface, this bias makes sense. Studies have consistently shown that employees who consider themselves overqualified exhibit higher levels of discontent. Invaders, pirates, warriors. The history books taught us that Vikings were brutal predators who traveled by sea from Scandinavia to pillage and raid their way across Europe and beyond. Now cutting-edge DNA sequencing of more than 400 Viking skeletons We acknowledge all the information and memory notes provided by students. We also acknowledge open source from various books and journal articles. All questions and answers are prepared and annotated by the Australian Institute of Language. In 1953, B.F. Skinner visited his daughter's maths class. The Harvard psychologist found every pupil learning the same topic in the same way at the same speed. A few days later he built his first teaching machine which let children tackle questions at their own pace.